Hello, my name is Chandak from the Awty International School. Today I will be discussing the Mosaic Company, or MOS. MOS is an agricultural fertilizer and mining company, and I am giving it a buy recommendation. Its current price is $29.77, and I'm giving it a target price of $44.90, almost a 50.8% upside. Company overview. MOS is segmented across three divisions: the phosphate segment, the potash segment, and Mosaic fertilizantes. The phosphate segment accounts for 66% of North American phosphate output and holds 11% global market share of phosphate. The potash segment has the lowest cost potash mine in the Western world and holds 12% global market share of the potash segment. Now, Mosaic fertilizantes. It is a bit different than the other two segments, primarily because it takes products from the other two segments and sells them only in Brazil. So it has a 20% market share in Brazil, and it owns ports, rails, terminals, blending plants, and downstream retail as to sell directly to farmers. Investment summary. So I'm giving it a buy recommendation. So other than being dominant in North America, it is dominant in Brazil. Due to its dominant logistics infrastructure in Brazil, it is able to cut third-party costs that competitors would have to pay. Branded products offer huge potential. So, Mosaic is pivoting from a commodity miner to higher margin branded fertilizers under the brand names Mosaic Biosciences and Microessentials. Mosaic Biosciences revenue doubled in 2025 and is expected to double again in 2026. And finally, geopolitical tailwinds and critical mineral status. Phosphate and potash was recently added to the U.S. critical mineral list on November 2025. Though this will allow Mosaic to further lobby the U.S. government to impose more tariffs on foreign competitors. China has been restricting fertilizer exports in 2026, putting a floor on global fertilizer prices as well. Industry analysis. The fertilizer market was estimated at $231 billion in 2025. It is projected to grow to $290 billion in 2023. So the top fertilizers consumers are China, India, USA, Brazil, and the EU. Though the main ones, for Mosaic at least, is US and Brazil, because US is a main importer of potash, and Brazil is the number one export destination, primarily because it cannot produce any of its own fertilizer. Then, key global producers. Both Russia and China are in the top 5 for all fertilizer types. China is number 1 for finished nitrogen and finished phosphate. Competitive positioning. Mosaic holds an economic moat of narrow to medium. So first, its logistics moat, as we stated before with Brazil, it is able to cut a lot of cost. Its patented technologies of microessentials and biosciences is doubling revenue, is expected to double revenue next year. And its vertical integration cuts down on third-party costs all around. Supporters 5 forces. First, customer power. Price-sensitive farmers have a lot of leverage. Competitive rivalry. There are a lot of government-backed companies that are in the fertilizer market. Supplier power. Moderate, but because the product is completely dependent on sulfur, ammonia, and natural gas. Threat of substitutes, the product is irreplaceable, and new entrants is completely insignificant because it is incredibly difficult to make your own mine and incredibly capital intensive. This is bargaining power of suppliers. As you can see, when sulfur prices increase, so does DAP and MAP, phosphate products. Revenue drivers. So, other than Mosaic fertilizantes, with Brazil consistently growing since 2018 to 2025, and Mosaic Biosciences, which is expected to double, its commodity cycle is incredibly important. So, first, Mosaic is a cyclical company, meaning it is heavily dependent on economic cycles. So, usually it has a baseline. So between 2011 to 2020, its baseline average was $7 to $9 billion. But that baseline has since then increased. In the 2020s, it has increased to $11 billion to $13 billion. Financial analysis. So, growth over the past 5 years, growth has been 4.55% revenue compounded annual growth rate. Brazilian and U.S. farmers are approaching a soil mining limit, meaning they have to buy phosphate and potash products because they were not buying it before to cut costs. And China is pivoting towards using phosphate for EV batteries. This puts even more pressure on the market. Now, profitability. So there has been margin compression in years 24 and 25. This was one-time capex to improve asset reliability. As you can see here, the capex to previous year's revenue ratio is incredibly high, which is out of place for the company in general. But this was to be expected because during 2024, production was disrupted by 700,000 tons of lost phosphate and 250,000 tons of lost potash due to electrical problems and a hurricane. These one-time issues have since been resolved and asset reliability has improved. Valuation. I've taken 3 scenarios for a DCF valuation and a CCA, a comparable company analysis. So, first we have my bull case. My bull case, I used a 5.5% revenue CAGR. I found this by taking a weighted average of the expected growth rates of Mosaic Fertilizantes and the rest of the segments. So with that, I got the $45 target. Then the base case, I took a 2.7% revenue CAGR. This was primarily just to match the overall fertilizer market. And the bear break-even case, this is the lowest Mosaic would have to go to justify its current price. So it would be expected to lose around 3% CAGR every year for the next 5 years to be valued at what it is now. And that is extremely improbable just because it would have to defy all odds and go against the agricultural market as a whole. Now, my comparable company analysis. So its competitors are Nutrien, Yara, CF Industries, ICL Group, and SQM. So, Mosaic's PE ratio is 63% below the industry average. Enterprise value by sales is 52% below. Price per book is 66% below the peer average, and revenue growth is 43% above. Investment risks. So politics and trade policy are a significant risk. So MOS faces review of countervailing duties on OCP Morocco and Phos Agro, meaning that these moats could be eliminated, affecting revenue. So chemical input and natural gas costs. Natural gas and sulfur are incredibly volatile, so that poses a risk. And climate change, climate volatility can suppress crop yields, thus reducing fertilizer demand. ESG considerations and AI opportunity. So, Mosaic is in the 86th percentile according to CSR Hub, rated against 42,717 other companies. It is incredibly mindful of its of being net zero with its greenhouse gases and reducing water usage. It is trying to help support professional mining professionals in Canada, and its board is incredibly diverse. So AI is also transforming the business. It is helping with water optimization. It is helping with precision agriculture using Internet of Things sensors. It is helping manage inventory using 3D imaging, and it is automating mining. Thank you.